Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating framework on a topic we literally all face at some point, human suffering. Specifically, we're looking at a text from 2011 by Guy Shufang, the founder of Life Chen Yuan. We're going to dive right into his exact arguments about cause, effect, and the human condition. And whenever we look at a specific philosophy, the best way to truly grasp it is to go straight to the source material, to see how the worldview is built from the ground up. So let's jump right in.
To kick things off, where does human suffering actually come from? I mean, it's a massive question, right? It sits right at the center of the human experience. Throughout history, people have always tried to categorize their pain. Is hardship just random bad luck, a roll of the cosmic dice? Or is it maybe a divine test from a higher power to build character? Well, every worldview eventually has to tackle this. Today we're going to see exactly how Guy Shufang answers it, laying out a very distinct, logical roadmap for his followers.
All right, Section 1, the smooth way, or the ideal state.
Okay, before we can even talk about suffering, we have to know what things are supposed to look like when everything is going perfectly right. The text gives us this foundational premise right out of the gate: the way of the greatest creator is smooth and harmonious. Basically, the argument here is that if you're walking this proper path, life should be inherently smooth. Your heart should literally be filled with absolute joy. Peace and joy aren't seen as these rare, lucky moments here. No, they're presented as the guaranteed baseline if you're correctly following the way. And keeping that baseline in mind is absolutely crucial for understanding the rest of this framework.
Which brings us to Section 2, the source of suffering and what happens when the path gets rough.
Look, we all know life doesn't always stay perfectly peaceful, and the text is actually very realistic about this. It openly acknowledges that things happen. We face disasters, misfortunes, the inevitable cycle of joys and sorrows, and the pain of separations. The philosophy doesn't ask its followers to just pretend these turbulent events don't exist. Instead, it gives a highly specific, logical explanation for why they happen to an individual in the first place.
And this is where it gets super interesting. The text links your internal emotions directly to an objective state of being. When your life hits a speed bump, it shows up internally as anger, grief, disappointment, despair, trouble, or melancholy. According to Guy Shufang, the second these specific negative emotions pop up, you can be absolutely certain of one cause. You have strayed from the way. It's a direct cause and effect. In this framework, bad feelings aren't just random emotional weather. They're basically a diagnostic tool, like an alert on a dashboard, telling you, hey, you've wandered off the intended path.
Moving into Section 3, not a divine test. We're debunking a common myth here.
So, this is a major divergence. You know that traditional trope found in a lot of cultures? The idea that hardship is a test from the Creator to make you stronger or prove your faith? Well, Guy Shufang firmly counters that. The text explicitly states that the greatest creator absolutely does not test people with suffering. If you run into trials, it's never some divine exam orchestrated from above. It is simply the natural consequence of you departing from the way. The responsibility for the suffering is completely shifted.
Okay, Section 4, the guide's roadmap, and Shufang's actual role in all of this.
Having established that the Creator isn't causing the pain, where does Guy Shufang fit in? Well, for his followers, whom he refers to in the text as Chen Yuan Celestials, he identifies simply as an ordinary guide. His stated job is to provide a clear roadmap, and he argues that as long as people strictly follow his route, he would never intentionally throw obstacles in their way or use pain as a test. It makes practical sense, right? A good earthly tour guide wants your trip to be safe, efficient, and joyful. Trying to make it miserable goes against the very definition of a guide.
Which leads to this really compelling piece of logic from the text. Think about it. If a mere guide, just an ordinary person, does everything possible to make the journey smooth and avoids causing pain, how much more will the merciful and almighty greatest creator do so? It's a classic philosophical argument from the lesser to the greater. He's basically saying, if an earthly guide wouldn't do it to you, an almighty heavenly creator certainly wouldn't cause unnecessary suffering either.
Finally, Section 5, the call to reflect and finding the actual solution.
So if the creator isn't doing it and the guide isn't doing it, what are you supposed to do when misfortune inevitably strikes? The text lays out a very strict three-step action plan. Step 1, do not blame heaven, fate, or other people. The instinct to point fingers outward is entirely rejected here. Step 2, quickly turn inward. And Step 3, self-reflect to figure out exactly how you departed from Chanyan values. Because the smooth path is supposedly guaranteed, any bump in the road is solely on the traveler who strayed.
It really demands complete, unyielding internal accountability as the only viable solution to suffering. At the very end of his 2011 text, Guide Xufeng poses a direct question to his followers. Is this not so? Let us reflect together. He lays out this whole logical loop that the creator's path is inherently smooth, suffering just means you strayed, and self-reflection is the only cure. And then he just opens the floor for his readers to deeply ponder it. It's fascinating. So, I want to leave you with a thought. How do the different philosophical frameworks in your own life assign meaning and responsibility to human hardship? Really think about that. Thanks for tuning into The Explainer today, and I'll catch you next time.